Hey class, welcome to Abroad Sex Education, the sex education you deserve. It seems like there's a quiet pressure to be good at sex, but no one really knows what that means. Some people think it's about technique. Let's talk about how to be good at sex, but not in the way that you think. I'm your host and guide on being good at sex, Sin. Before we begin, let's start with a consent notice. This podcast is a sex education resource for adults. We have real, inclusive conversations about human sexuality, pleasure, relationships, gender, identity, and more. Our goal is to break the stigma and provide the kind of sex education many of us never got. I'm learning too, and I'm bringing what I learned here so we can all grow together. You deserve to know what this is about so you can make an informed choice to listen, or not. That's what consent looks like, even here. So, what makes someone good at sex? I think sexual compatibility is important in relationships. Maybe this is just in my world, but if a friend is dating someone new and they haven't slept with someone yet, I always ask afterwards, how was it? Did you have a good time? Was it good? And usually, if it was, they'll say yes. But I don't think that we all have the same definition of good. Just like in the last episode, we talked about how there's not really a definition of what sex is. But I do think there are some elements of sex that can make it good that we don't necessarily think about more in depth. Some people think it's a lot of technique, having a lot of experience, confidence, chemistry. And while I do think all of those are valid and are important, I don't necessarily think they make the experience great every single time. If you use the same techniques every time, then it just gets repetitive. You can have a lot of experience. If you have a new partner, that experience isn't 100% going to be useful in the next relationship that you have. In terms of confidence, confidence is very, very important. You should feel confident. But we are all people and we all have our days where we feel not so confident. So you can't always bank on confidence being what makes sex good. And chemistry, I do think sexual compatibility is important, but I don't think that chemistry is going to last forever, especially if you're with someone you've been with for a long time. You can have passionate moments. What I'm going to be describing in the next few slides is the underlying idea of what makes chemistry. But yeah, let's get into it. So, what makes someone good at sex? So, when people hear how to be good at sex, they usually think it's technique or it's like some secret skill to master, but I think it starts way earlier than that. The first thing is going to be your mindset. So, open your mind. I think being open minded is super important when it comes to sex. I think being open minded is just important in life, to be honest. But the reason why it's important to be open minded during sex is because, like I mentioned before, different people like different things. So if you've dated one person, that relationship has ended, and then you're dating someone new, you can't guarantee that the things that you've done in that past relationship is going to be the same with this new person that you are with. So you have to be open to what the person that you're going to be sleeping with in the future is going to be into. And that can include some fetishes, some kinks, and I think those are fun to explore. There is no universal formula on how to be good at sex. I feel like this probably should have been the first bullet point, but yeah, there is no universal formula because every person is unique and an individual and has their own interests and kinks and fetishes and preferences and boundaries, and we are all a combination of all of those things. We are all so unique and special in our own way. You can't just copy and paste a formula on one person on another. Being open, though, doesn't mean you have to say yes to everything. If you know you don't like something, you are more than welcome to be like, nah, this is not for me. I have a mindset of like, I will try everything, but there's definitely some things I know I do not want to try. Like, I don't want anything to do with urination and poop. And that's a personal boundary for me. And that is valid. But if someone is interested in that, that's totally okay. They can find someone that is also interested in those same things. I am very open minded, but there are definitely some things that I am hesitant about. Doesn't mean I'm not open to trying it, but it just means I don't have the full knowledge of how to execute it. So I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable doing that. One example of this, something that I teeter the line of like, I'm not sure, but like, I'd be interested in finding out, but like, I don't know, is sounding. We'll get into this more when it comes into the BDSM episode. Sounding is a sexual practice involving the insertion of a specialized smooth instrument, often metal or glass rod, into the urethra for pleasure, sensation play, or as part of a domination submission relationship. This one is something that if I had a partner that is interested in it, I'd be willing to try. But because I know I don't have a lot of information on how to do that or experience with that, but being open minded to like, okay, maybe I'd be open to that, maybe not, it's okay. Just define that for you. Another thing is be willing to learn, listen, and adjust, which we will go into a little bit more, but this is just an opportunity for you to learn more. Good sex is not about already knowing everything. It's about being curious, adapting, and being willing to learn. And if you are listening to this podcast, you are already someone that's willing to learn, and I'm proud of you. I think the definition of good sex puts a lot of pressure on people. Even if you are with a partner for an extended period of time, you're not always going to have good sex every single time. Sometimes it might be great, sometimes it might not be great. But I think there are elements that you can overall be generally good at sex. What does open minded look like in practice? That means being open minded is exploring your own interests and learning what you like. Curiosity helps make sex get better because it allows you to lead with an open mind and then take in new information versus being closed minded and just staying in your own lane. It's not fun and it's not exciting. So once you understand that there's no one right way, the next question becomes, okay, well then what does work for me? And that's the step people skip the most. You have to know your own body first. So touch yourself. I think masturbation is very, very important. I cannot emphasize it enough. You should know your body. It's like the RuPaul quote. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Which I agree, but I stand by that when it comes to sex. If you're not going to have sex with yourself, why the hell would anyone want to have sex with you? It's okay to still be figuring it out throughout your life, and especially with people with uteruses. There's changes within your body that sometimes some things will feel good and other things will not feel good based on the different sensitivities that come with hormone changes. It's okay to still be figuring that out. It's about the journey, it's not about the destination. Self knowledge gives you the language and confidence. So, because you will know what works for you, you'll have the ability to say, this doesn't feel right for me, or I don't like this type of touch, or I don't like this type of movement or position. Having the knowledge about yourself gives you your own level of confidence of knowing what works. Knowledge is power, and I think that having that knowledge will give helps with the confidence of knowing and then asking for what you want, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But knowing your body includes knowing what your turn-ons are, your turn-offs, what's your sensitivities and your needs. Because again, like I mentioned, what feels good can change, but being aware of your body helps reduce shame and gives you the opportunity to learn more about yourself. Knowing your body is great, but it doesn't help anyone if it just stays in your head. At some point, that knowledge has to become communication. So, tell them what you like. Communication can be playful, fun, casual, or direct. It's easier to get better at something when someone is guiding you through it, especially in the moment. And when you stay silent, it just creates more confusion than it does honesty. I think when people are silent, sometimes that's just like feeling shame or feeling uncomfortable, and that could just be uncomfortable because you don't know how to express you want. But no one is a mind reader. I say this about dating all the time too, but no one can read your mind. No one is a mind reader. I mean, unless there are some mind readers out there, which if there are, that's a huge weight on your shoulders to be able to read everyone's mind. That's a really annoying superpower. But for all of you who are not mind readers, it's okay that you are not a mind reader. How are you supposed to know what someone wants if they don't tell you? This is why I tend to be such a direct person because, again, how is someone supposed to know what I want if I don't tell them what I want? I think people have a fear of being direct, but when it comes to sex, there are ways that you can tell people what you like without it being so direct. In the moment, you can always say more, less, slower, softer, stay there. I like that. You can use sounds, you can moan louder if you like a certain touch. If you like what your partner is doing, you can say, yes, keep going. That feels amazing. You can say it in a way that is a positive reinforcement. Clear communication is one of the best things that you could do to make sex good between you and your partner. And communication isn't something that just happens in the moment. Bonus tip, talk to your partner before and after sex. So if there are any boundaries, if you have any turn-ons or turn-offs, tell your partner beforehand. Talking about sex beforehand is really good because you can say things like, oh, I like it when my ear gets nibbled on, or I don't like it when people bite my lip. Talking about it before is really good. I personally also recommend talking about sex afterwards. This is a recommendation from a book that I will talk about, and I stand by this. I think it's one of the best things that you can do when you're having sex with a partner that you are consistently having sex with, but it's to have a sex review, and I think they're great. It's essentially after sex. It doesn't necessarily have to be immediately after, but it can be at some point after having sex. You talk about what you did and didn't like about the last time you had sex, because the best way to be good is over time is to just talk about what happened. So things that I think are good to ask her, what did you like about our last sex? What felt really good? What would you like to do more of next time? And what would you, was there anything that you would like to do less, or anything that you didn't like at all? And I feel like finding out this information after the fact is super helpful, because then you know, like, you have a reference of a situation that you can go back to and be like, okay, now I know what to avoid or what to do more of to make the next time better. And that will always be helpful. Now, once you've had those conversations and you're actually in the moment, this is where a lot of people get in their heads. So let's talk about being present. So, be present. Being present isn't about just paying attention, it's also about responding. So pay attention to their body language, their sounds, their movement. Like I mentioned before, if you notice your partner is making louder sounds or more agreeable sounds during a certain motion, keep continuing with that motion. If something is working, don't switch it up or try to do more. It's a common complaint amongst straight women about straight men when something feels good and you're building up to this orgasm, and then your partner finally hits the right spot. They're doing an amazing job at hitting the right spot to the point where, like, your climax is growing and you are almost at the point of orgasm. And there are some situations where women will say, like, oh my God, like, yes, that feels amazing. Or they tell their partner they're going to come. And then straight men have a tendency to get excited about that, and they'll go faster. That causes the orgasm to kind of slip away. So, just as a rule of thumb, if your partner is telling you they're about to come, then don't switch it up. Just keep doing the same thing that you're doing. Just don't go any faster. That's my PSA to straight men. Don't go any faster. Don't try. I don't understand why faster, you think faster is better, but it's not. Just do what you're doing already is amazing. Like, don't change it up. Silence doesn't mean something is good. Like I mentioned in the last slide, it can mean that someone feels unsure, uncomfortable, or just neutral about something. It's okay to ask, like, does this feel good for you? It doesn't hurt, because if they're not saying anything and they're not giving you any information at that point, then it's okay to ask for information. The best experience comes from connection, not performance. So don't stress about, like, am I doing this right? Focus on the person in front of you and making that experience enjoyable for the both of you. Good sex isn't quiet and passive. It's an interactive experience for all of the people involved. So show your enthusiasm. I think enthusiasm is more important than showing off, because good sex feels responsive. It feels good to be wanted. So if you are making your partner feel desired and that you are enjoying being there, then it will make your partner feel good and desire you and enjoy being there. I think one of the situations where this applies the best is during oral sex, because oral sex is a very one-sided sexual act where one person is giving pleasure to another person, it's a very giving act. So if you're just like meh about it, if you are not excited about doing it, then it just is not fun for the other person. Who wants to be around someone that doesn't want to be there? Realistically, that's like not fun. So if a person is enthusiastic about going down on someone, then it makes that experience a lot more enjoyable. The shared experience means both people's pleasure, comfort, and presence matter. And the best experience comes from, again, connection, not from performance. So yes, when you start thinking about this way to be better at sex, like being responsive, you realize something very important. There is no gold standard for being good at sex. It is not a universal ranking. We all have different preferences on what we think good sex is. So someone could think you're good at sex, another person that could think you're not as good at sex, because again, it's a shared experience for all parties. Good sex is context dependent. So it could depend on the person, it could depend on the situation, it could depend on a lot of these things, because again, everyone is a unique individual with their own interests, turn-ons, turn-offs, boundaries. That means that there are a lot of factors that go into what makes sex good for all parties involved. And so that means that you have to be able to communicate and respond to each other in a way that makes it good for all of you. What works with one person may not work with another, which we've already said, but good sex is relational, contextual, and built through trust and communication. Again, talk about it. I say it all the time. Talk about sex. So if we zoom out for a second, this is what being good at sex comes down to. Being open-minded, learning your body, telling your partner what you like, being present and responsive in the moment, being enthusiastic, enjoying being there, and then recognizing that you are not trying to reach this peak, idealistic, one-size-fits-all version of sex. Because again, it can change. And if you want to take this a little further, especially in the communication piece, this is one of my favorite resources. I really recommend the book Sex Talks, The 5 Conversations That Will Help Transform Your Love Life by Vanessa Marin and Alexander Marin. They're a couple. I believe she is a sex therapist and he is her husband, and they co-wrote this book together. It's amazing. It's so good. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I think it's one of the best books that you can read with a partner to help enhance your sex life. So definitely check it out. If you want more assistance on having those conversations, sign up for our newsletter, because you'd get the free Essential Sex Conversations workbook, where there are some questions that help you reflect individually or with a partner. If you have any follow-up questions about being good at sex, you can submit them anonymously using the link in the show notes. If this episode helped you understand something a little better, share it with a friend, because the best way to destigmatize sex is to talk about it. Follow the show to stay updated on future lessons. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you all in the next lesson. Bye!